Hello everybody. When we left off yesterday, we'd done quite well, to be honest. Let's have a look. So we pile off the brown cloth of boring and the heavy ones. I've ordered some more of the heavier ones, by the way, because that's a good thing to do. So we're kind of about a third of the way through this triangle, which is a lovely thought. So we need to do, potentially, the cloth stitch down here, I think, is the next course of action. And what did I do with my pins? It's not them. There they are. I had pin pots everywhere. Well, it feels like they're everywhere, and of course, some of them are the wrong pin pots. So, I have the right pin pots. I have pokey stick type 1. Somewhere in here is pokey stick type 2. And a pile of stick. So let's see where we're at. You I don't need for this immediate moment. We need to check that these are all in the right place. 2, 3, 4. There is a couple more in here. But not you. You don't count. Please leave the building. Alright. So, we are heading leftwise again. Let's see. Right. I know what we need. We either need a dog or a cushion. Unless the dog is sitting in the dog bed. I'm going to have to assume that it's cushion time. So let's move that way a little bit. Trying to make this reasonable. That feels a little bit precarious. Where's the thing underneath? Move the thing underneath a little bit. Underneath is it's a kind of circular table, but it is designed for lace pillows, but maybe not quite one this big, so I don't know. There's kind of this much either side, obviously front and back, and so obviously if I don't have it fairly central, it does kind of be prone to tipping. Plus, as you possibly well noticed, if I put too much weight on this side, it very easily tilts this way, not so much the other, which is again slightly irritating. But we are now. You need to do the thing and come out, so you can now go back in there, because we won't need you again for ages. And we'll make you a bit longer. Through these, and then we will sort out the rather erratic lengths of bobbins that we've got here. So let's sort you out a little bit, and you down a little bit, and you down a little bit. There we go, and you. Right, you're a bit more amenable. Right, so, and then we'll make you longer as well. Open the pin pot so I can throw it all on the floor, which is what I seem to be very good at. What are you eating? Living with dogs seems to be 90% of leave that, don't eat that. Although, I do have to admit that this morning I achieved a miracle. I did. And you were most aggrieved, weren't you? So I have 2 dogs, one male, one female, they're brother and sister, called... Well, as you well know, Nautica, you'll appreciate this of all people. I dropped a shortbread biscuit on the kitchen floor, inches from the dog, and I got there first. I need a medal. I am the Usain Bolt of catching biscuits. I got there first. And I ate it, obviously, because, well, I was hungry, and it was a Liz biscuit, not a dog biscuit. But I got there first, so I ate it. It's funny how your pride goes a bit out the window when you've got dogs. I saw a post on Threads. Do you leave the bathroom door open, or do you shut it if you've got dogs? And quite... We all know that they all, scientists tell you that, your dog can smell 1 part in a million. So even when you've got one who can see and one who, even if you've got a dog who's got perfect hearing and sight, why is it occasionally you're pointing at the food on the floor and they're looking at a finger going, what? No, follow the finger to the thing on the floor. And they're looking at you going, what? There is food on the floor. At this rate, I'm going to eat it before you. It's going to grow into a whole new life form before you eat it. Will you eat the thing on the floor? And they're kind of going, what? I do love my dogs. Oh, I do. But yeah, not always as bright as perhaps they could be. Never mind. Such is dog. So yes. But I was astounded I got there first because these two are not slow. And moreover, I did not have dog mouth on my hand when I got it, so it was not like close. I won by quite a bit. It was frankly quite surprising. So yes, I shall never forget the day that I won the capture of the biscuit. Yeah. So prepping for the, I'm kind of six squares in and I'm getting bored with this shenanigans. I have ordered me, and you can blame a couple of other streamers for this. Well, I'm very pleased for you to be here. It's nice to have, well, it is frankly really, really, really nice to have someone to talk to, because I don't think much of my speaking voice. I should point that out. But on top of that, I don't feel I have a particularly good speaking voice, and so the fact that I might be talking to nobody really doesn't help. I feel very subconscious when I'm prattling on with no idea whether someone's listening or not. Moreover, on top of that, because it then goes up on YouTube, it's kind of immortalised forever, the bullshit wafflings, and I am very conscious of the fact that, not necessarily as I say it, but very shortly afterwards my brain goes, you've just talked bullshit and you've waffled on about something completely irrelevant to life, and it's going to be up forevermore on YouTube for people who have, which is part of the reason I added the text chat in the bottom right hand corner, because obviously it was a brain cell thought, because as you know my brain cells do that. My brain cells suddenly went, you do realise that when you answer a question and you don't do it in the full English comprehension of, oh, you've asked me this, oh well here's the answer kind of manner, they have no idea what you're talking about and why you're answering that and why you've suddenly woken up and, you know, all of those kind of things. So I put the chat in the bottom corner so that people have an idea of, you know, if they're skimming through, will have an idea of where the subject came from, or maybe what I'm answering, or who I'm talking to, and maybe it'll not be quite so weird to just kind of hear half a conversation. Because as we all know, half conversations rarely go as well as they could. So yes, hence I did that. because it is really a valid thing to do. And how I extended this so that this was one of the early threads that we had to replace because it ran out, and we're running out again. I don't think we will. We might run out. Well, we shall have to see. Not yet, but it's thinking about it. I've only got to get to the bottom of this triangle. So I was asked by a lovely lady called Caroline Morse. She's someone that I've met through weaving and other aspects on Facebook, and she asked me how I was going to do the joins. And, well, this is a mighty fine question. Because, well, it's possibly not as simple as it sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as I thought. So you need to go up and out the way, because you're going to annoy me if you do. In theory, as I go along, doing the outside edge here, I can join as I go. And if you think about it with extreme logic, I only ever have to join a maximum of 2 sides. So for every square I can do half of it, and at worst we'll have to join 2 sides to the existing collection. My concern with that is, when you make lace, you make it good face down, right? So I would need to remember which sides, I mean, it doesn't matter which sides which, as in, you know, rotating around the square round, because they're all symmetrical, but I would have to remember which side up is up and down, and join accordingly. And in doing so, if I funked it up, there's no going back, right? Whereas if I join after the fact, it won't look as tidy. But one snip of a pair of scissors and it's not connected anymore. So from that point of view, it's a good thing. Now, the craft perfectionist of me knows that the join as you go is the best answer. The craft perfectionist knows that, well, if you pay enough attention, it will always be the right way around and you won't stuff it up. The non-crafting professional says, no bugger's going to see this damn curtain, and why are you making your life hard? Because, of course, joining the first square, it is a fairly significant stressor to join as you go. Because what you effectively have is, if I demonstrate with random triangle of previousness, you would have to all but, and I am going to pin it in gently further down, so hang on. I'm going to move these around a bit so they're out of the way. What you would do is these would go in and you would put effectively back in the pins. So these would go in down the line like this. And then when you come to said pin, obviously you would have started at the top, but you know, we're down here and all the rest of it. So you'd put all of these back in, and then when you get to doing the edge with it, you get your crochet hook, and I swear this is way too fat. I did order a really fine one, it might be in my thing, but as this is a test triangle and we're not being prissy about the test triangle, so should I come along, what you have to do is you find where there would be a pinhole, you put your thing through it, you grab the end of one of your bobbins, it's just making balls of it, you pull, making real frigging balls of this one, oh, for goodness sake. See, this is why, as I said, this is not an easy thing to do per se, but made a bit of a balls of this one. So we put that through there, come on. It's hard because you don't have tension on the thread, like you do when you actually crochet things, and it keeps falling off the stupid hook. But you pull that through like this, then you pass the other one through the loop that's here, and it hooks it on. So it would be the most perfect join. It really, truly and utterly would. Can you imagine going through all that faff for each and every one of those outside pins? Bear in mind there's the best part of like 50 something of them. The answer is no, not really. Especially as you might have to do two sides. This would desperately impact the doing of the do. Whereas obviously when it comes to the idea of joining later, not that I've got anything great to demonstrate it with, this will have to do. But in the idea of joining later, you have the two, I mean this is so not the right thing to be doing it with, but you have two things that you can lie next to each other and obviously all but bind the two together and call it quits. So if you did it with a significantly even finer thread, I mean, it'd be delicate as fuck, but it would be, I believe, good enough. And as I said, no one's going to see this stupid net curtain, so, you know, there is a lot of me wondering why I'm being so prissy about it. Because, you know, frankly, there are bigger things in the world to be worrying about. So I guess it's that kind of thing, is that while I know that there is a better way of doing it, the stress levels of the better way, right here, right now, do not feel like the better way. Because in the future, I can join, you know, a strip of 6 together, and then I've got to join 2 strips of 6 together. Well, I've got to do 2 joins down the middle. And then it's done. Rather than what will feel like constantly getting to the end of a triangle and spending hours trying not to screw it up. So if, for example, I turned out I got one of them round the wrong way, it would be possible, well, quite reasonably possible, to fix it in the post phase, whereas once it's joined, I ain't frigging pulling that. You are almost certainly can't undo that. And that there lies the rub, is that the doing it after the fact is messier, arguably, but it is undoable and redoable. The do as you do, not really undoable. So I am opting for the post completion, which also opens another opportunity, which is until I've done 12 of them, which would form, say, the outs. Well, after doing 4, I could change the pattern, and do a different pattern as the outside ring. Or I could get to 12, be fed up with it, and do a different pattern for the inside ring. And I still have opportunity to change my mind. Whereas if you do join as you go, you're kind of committed. Once you get to doing kind of that 5th one, almost, well, not quite irrelevant which way you do it, but if you work from the top down, and so you do 3 across, by the time you get back to that middle, if you are not, you have to make a decision. And you can't decide to do a different outside ring. You can't really decide to do a different inside ring once you've done that 5th one. So, from that point of view, I think Maintaining options is a thing, because clearly I am going to get bored with these squares. I really, really will. I mean, we've got 78 squares or whatever to do. 78 triangles, rather, and they're all identical. Logic dictates you are going to be able to get a little bit bored with that. So, something after the fact, I think, can help with that, because you could do anything you like, change your mind. Christ, I could leave a hole in the middle if I wanted to. You know, the choice is utterly mine. Or I could buy a normal plain net curtain and sew it in the middle. So that all I've done is made an edge for the curtain. Those kind of things. Or I could get to 6, thoroughly hate these things, encase them in some resin, not that I have resin, but hey, I keep wanting to, and then do something completely different. And call the others placemats. So I don't know. I think joining as I go is a commitment level I'm not prepared for at this time. I wish I had more confidence in myself, but I don't, so that's that. We all have our failings. So yes, she made me think quite hard about, because obviously, as I say, joining as I go would be perfect. Really would. But is it a level of commitment I don't have? And I think the answer to that is yes. Actually, I think it is. So I'm resigned to that matter at this time. And as we all know, I was very indecisive at the beginning as to what I would do and how it would go, and, you know, some of the things that I would try along the way. And my brain is not very good at decisions. So the fact that it seems fairly convinced that waiting is the better choice. Ride the wave, be happy that brain has made a choice, and even if it is the wrong choice, shut up, it's made a decision, rightly or wrongly, let it live with it. I think in the long run, it won't be that bad. When I say the join would be better, of course it would be better, because there'd be no extra thread. The threads from one would go through the hole on the other, and it would make a perfectly unison happy join. And it would almost look like I made it as one piece. So from that perspective, it is a glorious thing. And perhaps for Net Curtain Mark II, which we all know is going to happen when the big bolster cushion arrives, and I found out why the big bolster cushion hasn't arrived, because my bank is a fucking arsehole. On my banking app thing on my phone, which I use, you go to pay someone, so it goes, you click send money and you type in it's to a new payee, so you type in a name and a bank and a source code, and it then goes off and goes, they don't match, because you've got to get the exact casing and wording spot on, and so it kind of goes, well, they don't really match, it's close, but they don't really match, so you really, 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 really sure? Yes. How much do you want to pay them? 35 quid. Okay. Are you aware this could be a scam? Yes, I am. But the moment you click on the kind of, are you aware this could be a scam thing, it takes you to a long story about what would happen if this is a scam. So you go back from that, and the other button is not continue on regardless. No. It's kind of almost like the I don't understand button. So I've got a feeling that when I did it last time, because while I'm ordering from a business, and I do feel slightly concerned on the simple grounds that I'm ordering from a business, and when I contacted them and said, hey, is your bolster cushion really that big? And they wrote back, yes, Liz, yes it is. And it was kind of like, and how much is postage for that? And they went, £10 to £15, Liz. And I went, is that it? Okay. One bolster cushion, please. And they then sent me in the mail an actual invoice. An actual paper. Not that I'm going to show you the details, but look. An actual paper invoice. That is the right one. I can prove it. Look, look, look. DJ Hornsby, right? So I think I stopped then believing it was paying. I searched high and low through my transactions, because I do have a couple of bank accounts, on the simple grounds that I have my bank account and I have a Bill's bank account. And what I do is, after I get paid, I throw the right money in the Bill's account so I can't spend it. It's the only real reason it's there. I've also got a savings account. It's not the fattest savings account in the world, but I have a a potentially fat, but not at the moment, savings account. I also have... Hello, Mr. Pause. Thank you. And you do know I need to breathe, right? Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Doc. I am now clean, apparently. Right. So I have a yarn allowance bank account, which I've never put any money in, because I originally was going to kind of put £5 away every month, so that, say, come around Christmas, I had a bit of a divvy up for getting yarn or whatever at sale or something. And I never got around to it. So I've had it for years, never put a single penny in it. Anyway. So I checked in case, obviously no point checking the yarn allowance one, because, well, clearly that's not going to have anything in it. And, well, couldn't find the £35 going out from anywhere. So I wrote to them to check, because maybe I was just being dumb, because, you know, that can be a thing. Maybe I did it on PayPal and it's not come through with their name on it. But then I remembered that as I typed their name... Oh, fuck's sake, dog. Come on. Just get on with it. Thank you. As I typed their name, I originally wrote that it was a business account, because, well, you really would think it's a business account. And it went, no, it's not. It's actually a personal account. So I felt slightly less comfortable, because obviously it's not a business account. But it's definitely theirs, so to be honest, it's only £35. I mean, £35 is still plenty, but, you know, it's not like it's £350. So I ended up paying what I felt was, again, yesterday night. But clearly I had not paid at all, because I'd also written them an email just in case I'd managed to now pay them twice. And so I'd asked them to confirm what the state was, and explained that, you know, I can't seem to find the payment in my transactions, so I paid, but I really thought I'd already done this, but it would explain why I've not seen a bolster cushion. And she wrote back this morning that, yeah, we only got it this morning, kind of thing. So that explains why my bolster cushion hasn't arrived. Oh, look, ads in 1 minute, 14 seconds. So that's hopefully on its way, but of course, when it comes, I will be curious as to the bolster cushion and its happiness. And so I will want to play with it, and I will want to play with the new bobbins whenever they kindly get here. And, because, well, they're new bobbins, of course I want to play with them. And so I do feel that we may have to set kind of do 3 squares, play with something. Do 3 squares, play with something. Or even do a square, have a little dance. Do a square, have a little dance. So even if it's a really minor experiment, like this green thing. This green thing was a minor experiment, right? It is the ugliest of green things. It is not fit for purpose. But I tested a couple of things on it. And... but I tested a couple of things on it. The main things were, 1, the tally at the top. 2 was, when I did a bit of a strip, I did an alternative hull stitch, and I actually quite like how, instead of the true cloth stitch fat like this, I had this much more open, and for a neck curtain, that could be a thing. And everyone's gone to ads because it is time for ads. Ooh, one of you's not right. It's just the way it was bending. Just the way it was bending. So you should be back now. So yes, I've been giving some thought as to whether should, even if I feel really enthused at the end of this triangle, should I stop and do something tiny and small and quick, just to make sure I don't get burnout on it, rather than go, yeah, it'll be great, I'll be fine, and get halfway through the next square and be in a mood, right? Now, of course, I can stop at any point, frankly. I could, and obviously at the end of every triangle is a perfect opportunity. Every square is an even bigger possibility. But one thing I did do, and as I said, you can blame other crafters for this. I was testing it on a piece of cloth because I haven't got the actual stuff to hand. But I bought what's known as a Q-snap embroidery frame. And it's good for embroidery stroke cross stitch. And I did consider for a little bit potentially decorating some of these cloths a little bit. Mainly kind of like motifs in the corner idea. Now obviously I have a fucking embroidery machine. I could do it with that, but it tends to make a dog's dinner out of everything, so that's not really a plan. But I have considered making some form of embroidery stroke cross stitch thing. Just as a bit of a sidetrack from it all, just to, you know, break up the monotony. Or doing some other different lacy thing. Maybe with some colours, maybe, you know, Christmas bookmark or something. I know it's only October, and how dare I mention the C word. But, to be honest, in the crafting world, we have to do that early, because it takes a freaking long time to do it, and then... So yes, I have given some thought into the... if we need to do kind of like the equivalent of an ad break of crafting, so that my brain cells have not gone off it and caused resentment, what in fact I would do. So I have ordered a cross stitch pattern that would be suitable for the ex-husband. He would like it, I believe. I could be very wrong, he might hate it, but well, if I make it for him, he'll love it. So that's generally how that works for us. It works quite well in that favour. I turn around and say, hey, I made you this. And because I made it for him, he appreciates it, because he knows how much effort goes into hand making stuff. And he is a reasonable person, and so appreciates that I spent time, thought, effort and money on making it. He will appreciate it. Maybe not quite as much as I'd like, as in, you know, he doesn't then, it's not his prized possession that he carries around with him forevermore. But, you know, which of course is what crafters all want in life, is for someone to go, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever seen, and like a small child carry it around like a safety blanket. But at the same time, you pain in the arse. At the same time, you know, we have a sense of realism, and I hate this bobbin, and we, you know, we are content that it is used, stroked, appreciated. And even if it is not, oh my god, it's the thing I've always wanted, that there is the appreciation of the level of thought, process and effort of making that went into its creation, and the appreciation of the time and effort spent. Which he does, to be fair. He really, really, truly does. I knitted him a jumper, and he actually was quite upset when... moth stroke his smoking had made holes in it, and there were quite a lot of holes, and I went to try and fix it, and the more I looked at it, there were just too many holes for it to be worth the bother. So I made him a new jumper, because I'm nice. And you know, it's I don't begrudge him it, although I will point out the first one was wool, the second one was not. But he does know, for example, to wash a wool jumper and lie it flat to dry, and not to, you know, throw it in a tumble machine, not to just hang it on a radiator and let the weight make it sag and pull it out of shape. So he's, you know, he is an appreciative user. He does not intentionally, you know, cause grief to it. Hence I don't mind making him things. I've made him a TARDIS blanket and some cushions and some things. Mainly because I don't know what else to freaking get him. So, because, well, he earns more than I do. So, as a result, buying him something, if he really wants it, he's already got it. And the only things he hasn't got are slightly out of decent price range. Which is the problems we have as adults in finding gifts for people. Is that when you're a really early adult, so when you've just about left home or you are leaving home, there are many things people can buy you that will be helpful, because, you know, you're going to set up your own home someday, and so a bit of houseware, bit, you know, it's a bit of a tweak kind of thing, but, you know, maybe some stuff to put around your house. You know, there are things you can buy. When you're mid to late 50s, you've done all of that shit, you've bought it all, your house is full of crap, because he's a bit like me and you, Nautical, is that he is not he is not a minimalist. Let's just leave it at that. He is much more well, he's got piles of boxes and stuff, piles of stuff with boxes with stuff in, and so he is not naturally minimalist. And so if he wanted it, he's bought it. And if he hasn't bought it, it's because it costs too much. And if it costs too much, who the hell thinks I can afford it? So, it's maybe you'd like a new car. Well, maybe you would, but I'm not spending 12 grand, 15 grand on a car because, I love him dearly. He's a really good friend, but that's a bit much. And so it is, as adults, we all struggle with other adult friends because, no longer are the days of, oh, I want My Little Pony, he says, 6-year-old you or whatever. It's all the latest Action Man or some shit off TV that's made of plastic and costs 40 quid. No. When you're an adult, you've bought all the shit that you want because it was cheap enough and you bought it. The only things you want are things you can't afford, and if you can't afford them, chances are your mate ain't going to afford them for your birthday / Christmas either. And it's not because they don't care. It's just that, 5 grand's probably a slad out of the casual present scenario. But hopefully he would like this. He can fucking find a frame for it, I'm not. But it's a Winnie the Pooh thing. And I think he would like it. But it's quite plain because it's cartoon. It is quite plain in colours. It's not one of those cross stitches that's got, 5,000 shades of red on it. And you do 3 little X's in this colour and 2 in a different one. And no, it's yellow, red, orange. It's mustard because Pooh Bear's mustard. I think Piglet's in it, so they'll be pink. I can't remember who's in it actually. I know Tigger's in it, and I know Pooh's in it because I remember thinking Tigger doesn't really have the end of a tail. Tigger's tail ends rather abruptly. So depending on how much orange I have left, I might try and make it slightly roundeder. Hang on. See if I can. So you can kind of see the picture there. So it's Pooh, Tigger and Piglet with a bit of a branch, a blue honey pot, well, a 2-tone blue honey pot. But realistically, there's going to be mustard and red and black for Pooh, orange with some black threading and some pale yellow for Tigger with a pink nose. The same pink looks to be Piglet with a dark pink bit for the Piglet's dark pink thing. Oh, there's 3 bees, so there'll be some yellow and black, but the yellow looks the same as the honey, so black again. The beehive's the same brown as the tree trunk, some green leaves, and that's about it. So there isn't too much of this, do 3 stitches in this stupid shade, do 3 stitches in this stupid shade, and having, half a frigging wall full of different coloured threads and realising you used the wrong one. It's very simple colours, so hence I thought that would be quite good, because realistically, start at the bottom and work up kind of thing. Shut up, Doug. By the way, my natural reaction when she does her grumping is to go, because that's kind of what she does to me. So, isn't it? It's what you do to me. You sit there and go, One, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we add 1, which makes 7, which doesn't feel right, but it does immediately leave. So I guess that makes it right. We're not going to question this. We're going to pretend that we didn't see that there were 7 momentarily, because I don't remember seeing 7 on my list before. Because you don't come out of this one. But you do. You immediately come out again. What the fuck? Just realised something. I did something really odd. Those are my worker pairs. How's my worker pair back there? I have screwed up, my friends. Hang on. Time to undo it. Quite how I did that. Must have started the wrong end somewhere. It's the only thing I can think of. Why is the... How is there a thread in my hand? How is there a thread in my hand when there isn't an empty bobbin? Oh, well, there is an empty bobbin. It fouled off. Okay. I was going to say, how is there an empty bobbin but no bobbin for the thread? Well, where did this come from? Getting hot under my jumper now. That doesn't feel right. I've got an earbud thing in, but it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it's sitting in my ear properly. It's supposed to be an over the ear earbud, but it doesn't seem to be hanging onto my ear very well. And I haven't exactly got sound coming through it unless one of you speaks, so it's not always sure whether it's still switched on or not. Anyway, let's go back. Here. I don't know how I did this. Seem to have done quite a bit without noticing that I screwed it up anyway. Yeah. And now this bit's not sticking down properly. There are definitely times when I could do without dog, but when you sit there and you're a back pillow, that's really helpful. But you don't do it enough. I certainly don't do it when I need it. So I'm guessing what actually happened was that instead of doing that, see, that's the wrong pair to be thrown out. Take you out. Yeah, you're the wrong pair. I went wrong even before that. Oh, for goodness sake. What the hell have I been doing? Ah, they came from that side. I started the wrong side. Just there. Oh. What was my mail telling me about? I think it was telling me about the spam report. Hey Tenchi. It is good to see you, my friend. It is always good to see you, my friend. To be honest, it's good to see the pair of you because it's nice. I'm getting rather accustomed to having you two floating around my stream to talk to me. For Nauticelt's understanding, Tenchi used to watch me when I streamed game, and Tenchi and I played the same game. So Tenchi used to watch me quite regularly. Well, killing bears actually, because that was what I did a lot of the time in the game, and so Tenchi has known me arguably a very long time. We like Tenchi. Tenchi's cool. So Tenchi, I was telling Nautical earlier, is that I have... Oh, it was well... Yep, I was going to say it was well before pandemic. I lived in the old house, and I moved 6 years ago. Bobbins this side of the pin, good. Yeah, it was a while ago, that's for sure. So yes, I was saying Tenchi to Nautical that I am slightly in fear of brain burnout of making 78 identical triangles, and so I have been, and someone on Facebook asked me how I would join them, and there are two ways to do the join. Well, there's probably more than two, but one is as a go, the other is at the end. And I'm choosing the at the end option. I've been quite decisive on this, considering how indecisive I've been about the other things. Mainly because joining as you go, as you'll see at the end of this triangle, the joins are frankly really friggin' annoying. And to do it down potentially two sides most of the time, so for about 2/3 of the time it would be two sides, this creates frustration. And as a result of creating frustration, I mean, arguably you could do a bit of half and half. So you only ever join one side, make a strip, and then right at the end you join the three together in a different manner. So joining as you go, you have to line up, where's my triangle again? You line up this triangle along here. And then instead of just putting a pin in this will already have all the pins where the pins would have been on this side. And what you do is you take a pin out, poke a crochet hook through it, which is a lot easier said than done, pull up a thread from one of the bobbins, make a loop out of it, pass the other one through it, and then it basically kind of makes like well, it makes like a hitch knot round the existing work. So it would be perfect. Because, well, it would join where all the joins should be, and it would basically be invisible. And it would be a thing of glory. And then there's the screw up factor. So when you make lace, you make it with effectively the good side down. Can you imagine you get, you're working on square number 18 or whatever, and you're casually looking at the great pile of cloth that is now formingly, almost the lace curtain, and you realise 2 of the squares are around the wrong way. You can't undo it. Once it's done, you frankly can't undo it. So even if you realise on stitch 1, obviously you could twist it and cheat, but if you did an inch, you're committed. Once that stitch is in, you are committed. And so one of the advantages of not doing it as we go is that, well, after 4 we could decide that we are done with this particular pattern and that we need a different pattern to go around the outside. Or we could do 12 of them and decide that we're done with it and want a different pattern for the inside. We have choices. Or you could get halfway through and think, screw this shit, I'm bored of it, and alternate them. Make a checkerboard style of it. If you join them afterwards, you have all these choices until certain points. If you join as you go, well, once if you do 1, 2, 3, 4, and you've now made the 5th one, you've committed. There is no choices anymore. Almost with every square you make, you rule out an option. So, while it is less ideal, I'm going to join afterwards. It gives me opportunity to consider other ways to join it. It gives me, because the obvious kind of over binding sew going around and around and around like this possibly is not the best, but it's not the worst way of doing it. So I don't know, there may be other things to consider. And so when we get to the end, we will make those choices. Because if necessary, if we truly and utterly wanted to, we could always make a strip and join them the perfect way after the fact. So you would make long strips, because obviously the long strips will show up more, and then do the interceding little strips, working out from the predecessor so that it doesn't show that it's a join, so that it kind of looks invisible and looks like there is kind of the squares are in frames, from want of a better word. So we could do all of that. We really, really could. We can make that decision after that, but what you can't do is once you've joined it, unjoin it. And so, considering it's my brain cell, it has been very decisive on that one. But it has decided that that would be the best way forward for it and my sanity. On top of that, we were thinking about, and what when it's bored of triangles, because obviously, I'm about to finish, we're halfway through, well, third of the way, whatever, through triangle number 4 of this square. We will shortly get to the bottom of the square. When we get to the bottom of the square and we've, tied it all off and we've marvelled at the fact that we've made square number 1, do we immediately want to start on square number 2? Or do we want to give it a lollipop and make something else? And it could be entirely anything else. It does not have to be lace making after all. To give it a bit of a settle down, it's okay kind of moment. And, let it chill out for a day or two. And then start on square number 2. And I am kind of leaning to the have another project in hand so that there is not the burnout, because obviously 78 identical triangles does kind of sound slightly burnout-y and slightly dull, frankly. So obviously brain cells could rebel at that, and I don't want them to, like I said on Sunday, it is better to stop in advance and come back and do more because you're still in the mood, than it is to keep going and resent it and hate it. So that is where I'm at, and I have bought something that would allow me to have embroidery stroke cross stitch things, and I have ordered me pattern so I can do that either when I'm not in the mood to stream and I want to do something, or 40 balls. Oh, you fucking arsehole. Let's undo this, shall we, children? I was wondering why that didn't feel quite. I added one this row. What I didn't do was add one the row before, something. Why does this never work out for me? Got me yawns. Why is there an ad there? We seem to be out. Why are we out? Oh, stop yawning! You're trying to think. Stop yawning. I swear my brain is out to kill me. It either need to pee because I'm thinking. Literally, you know, I can sit here, feel perfectly fine. Do you need a pee, bladder? No. One add one. Oh, I need a pee now. Oh, for God's sake. And now I've got the yawns because I'm trying to think. Why is this not working out? I don't see how this is not working out, but it's not working out, so I'm going to roll back until I can see why it's not working out. And I apologise because I am now going to yawn for like the next... There is no reason for the yawn, absolutely none. I'm not tired, I haven't had a hard day, well, no more than usual. I just suddenly have colossal yawns. And I was fine a bit ago. So I know I don't need to yawn. It's not overly hot in here. It's, you know I took my jumper off because I was getting warm. But, you know, it's not that warm in here. I know the heating's not on. So I have... Is this chicken? Yep, the heating is not on. So I don't know. I have no idea what's wrong with me. but I just suddenly have the colossal yawns. And they're the kind where you're going to swallow your own head as well. Not just, you know, a yawn. It is the, you know, going to swallow your head yawn. And a lot of them, apparently. It's supposed to be your brain demanding more oxygen. Well, there's the same amount of oxygen in the REM brain as there was, like, you know, an hour ago. And you're not actually tired. So you're just being an ass, can you not? And we try and work out what the fucking hell I did with it. I really don't see how I screwed it up. But I clearly did at some point. Because it's not right. Why does undoing this one stitch cause me so much grief? Wake up, woman. Stop yawning, it's rude. And just concentrate on what the hell you did wrong so that we can fix it. That was where I went wrong. I am confident that that is where I went wrong. So you're out. 1, 2, 3, 4. You need to come in. I think that's where I went wrong. Am I going to turn into bodily functions girl as I now seem to have trying to be having to have hiccups? For goodness sake. Terribly rude. And not exactly under my control either. So, oops. You need to go there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And add 1. Okay. Not that far now. Just enough. So, it's only Monday. How is it only Monday? you. Try and sit over there. You come up there. You come down here. Dear me. I swear I spend more time undoing this than I do doing this on occasions. It's been a long time since I did any cross stitch, so I'll probably make a hash of it. There we go. For some reason it seems like it's been a long day today. So, cross stitch section done. Put you back in there, and you, because we don't need you for it. Put you back out the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We shall stick you. Stick you, even though you're only 2 bobbins. I am going to stick you because, my dear bobbins, I don't want you to mate with everybody else. I want you to keep in order. So, get a bit more freedom than everybody else, but basically get out of the way. And you. you in a bit, by the looks of it, maybe. Did you just fart, Rory? Because that part was not my own. Pretty sure it was. I would be aware if my own behind had made such a noise. So, here are the cloth stitch ones. So we'll do those now. Oh, cloth stitch. Foot's going to sleep. Oh, foot's going to sleep. Work. I'm on call again this week, as I said, I'm on 3 weeks in a row, so see what says. Screw you. You cannot ask. Again? Failed to get valid credentials. Do you wish to sign out and use another account? No, because they're perfectly valid. If not, I won't be doing much work tomorrow. No, that also said. Let me just ping something off to a teammate. Spell you. It hasn't got ing in it, to start with. Let's see if teammate has the same problem. As they're in the same position I am generally. I've got a horrible feeling someone's kicked. Kick something I shouldn't. As I'm supposed to be on call, that would be awkward. Where's the thing I'm thinking of? There's supposed to be an app on here. It's not that one. It's not that one. That one. Device is out of compliance. I have not updated. Well, I haven't had anything saying I've had an update, so when one is on call, one takes it seriously. original ping looks to be non-essentials. That's a good thing. my work phone says that it's not been updated, therefore it's out of compliance. And normally we get an email, this has been approved of, you should now upgrade. And we haven't had that for a new version. Yeah. You out then. Hello, welcome to our channel. So yes, this is my Joyous Squares from work. I'm on call this week, and so should disaster strike at work, I will get called out to fix it. Only my phone is my work phone is currently, it went ping, as in because I'm on the monitoring. In fact, I run the monitoring, and the monitoring was saying, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, need attention." And so I went to look at it, and it went, "Your password's wrong." Freaking isn't. And then I went to look at email, and it went, "Your password's wrong." I can assure you, as they're independent, no, it isn't. And I am kind of harbouring a big secret at the moment, for which could be the reason for this, in which case someone's got the date wrong. And as a result, but I did poke around my phone because, like all companies, they upgrade a few things and things stop working, stuff happens, right? And my email stopped working a week or so ago, and I ignored it for a few days because, well, you know, on call doesn't come via email, so it doesn't really matter. But I was on call last week, I'm on call this week, and I'm on call next week. So I do kind of need my phone to be kind of with it, and because I may be able to save me joining in work by going, "You're an idiot, you needed to type this," or "You shouldn't have run that," or "What did you do?" kind of thing, right? And not actually have to log in and fix it. But I went onto the app that fixes the kind of normal email, "we hate you" kind of scenario, and it went, "Your device is not compliant. We do not like this device." Well, it's the company provided device, so I mean, like what? And as a result, in essence, it said that it's not up to date. So yeah, ads, sorry. Yeah, but you'll get me a whole cent for doing it, or whatever it is. It's not a lot more than that. But it's not. Okay. becoming a teacher bit has has a small amount of merit. I mean, you know, teach a bit of crafting, you know, it could be cool. But yeah, well, first of all, you know, like a lot of things, my co-worker who's in the same situation as me, they wrote back, yeah, mine's not working. Oh, I guess someone's got the date wrong, like I said. Really? For God's sake. I mean, all I can say is never look for a dog muzzle on Amazon on your work computer, because although a dog muzzle when you own dogs is a perfectly legitimate thing to do, the things that come up are less legitimate. Yeah, that's what got me, Steve. So me and co-worker are just working out whether work's screwed up, which is quite possible, or whether or not it was that. Hang on, let me tell him to update his phone. Okay. I don't know whether I'm supposed to tell anyone, but I'm not in the overly loving mood. My lovely employer for the last 19, nearly 20 years has decided that my services would be best served by another company. And my role is being outed to another company, and as part of UK law, due to outing it to another company, the other company will be taking me on. So while I am not losing my job, I will cease to be a direct employee of my current employer. And as a result of that, well, it was very likely, because it's potentially as of the 1st of December, that someone had put the wrong date in and made it like the 1st of November and our accounts have been shut off too soon, which is what we were thinking. But apparently it's just because someone who is... actually, maybe not. No. Still doing it. We may be right. May looks like they may have canned our accounts. We won't be doing any work tomorrow. What a shame! I can hear the sadness in my voice. Well, the problem is we're on call. Yeah, I know. Can you see the tears? You can hear the tears falling, can't you? The problem is that I am on call and I'm being paid to be on call. Device not in compliance. I've just fucking updated it. Yeah, I know. I'm inconsolable. I have literally just updated it, dude, and it still says your device is out of compliance. You're running an unsupported version of iOS. Well, I don't really want to upgrade it to 18. Well, if I can't log in the morning, I'll go back to bed. You know, I can't change the world. I can still answer my phone. I mean, it's still a phone. I just might not be able to log in and fix anything. Yeah, take care, because it is a little bit dark and it's going to rain as well. Thank you very much. Thank you for stopping by, and thank you for the follow. I'm here every day after all, so there's always another time if you can't make it back. So, at the corner, this is a good thing. Yeah, I'm aware that you are having pings, but I can't see them because. I was working earlier. Open Teams to continue receiving notifications. Stop giving me notifications to shit that I cannot see. Failed to get granted potentials. Let me quickly check the mass mail. Nothing there. Can't even send a mail or a Teams message to tell them I've got a problem. What a shame. Never mind. Tomorrow Liz will have to deal with that. Until then, we got lace to make. For goodness sake, phone. I swear, the more phones try and help you, the more annoying they are. Good for you. Unfortunately, I've got two. I've got mine and I've got Works one. And 17.71. Ask another teammate who's not sharing our shenanigans. Because if theirs still works, it's the shenanigans. Right. Interesting. That one doesn't say. Does that one? Yeah, that one still says. That's right. It came up like it was happy with Teams for a minute, and then the moment I asked it, it went, "Actually, no, I'm not." But clearly, the network's going a bit funny. So. We are now embarking upon a great quest, because for when a thread gets to the bottom down here, which is further down than it looks, it's actually there, so these are a little out of overly keen in their positioning. Let's see if we can fix that a little bit. Just about to be able to see them. So, when they get to the mysteriously wonderful bins at the bottom here, we can join them off and chop them off. And then they won't be on the cushion, and then there'll be more room. So it is in our interest to work down, chop, go. Down, chop, go. Okay, worker who is not affected is also having a problem. Cool. So yes, okay. Pass that on to other co-worker. So yes, it is difficult when you're trying to be the one with sense and gum when, frankly, you're drowning. So, hence I've been a bit distracted and making lots of mistakes, to be honest. Because, well, that's a thing. Missed. There we go. My co-workers have the same mind. What a shame. Hoping for a free day off tomorrow. That would have been nice. Yeah. Well, if they don't fix it... Shame. So yes, I have let the cat out the bag now. But I don't know whether I should have done or not. But hard to feel loved right now. But you can imagine it's quite stressful, so hence I've been a bit distracted, really. Hey, me. Hey, me. Hey. Wakey, wakey. Wakey, wakey. How's your foot? Could be better. Could be worse. You are really not awake. Okay. So you need to all sod off because this is going to get crowded. Very crowded. Do I really want to introduce 10 more bobbins just to get rid of one? Or do I want to do like this top bit as I've done before and then do the bottom? Part of me wants to get rid of the bobbin, but it does mean 10 more active bobbins and it is quite crowded. Let's put you out of the way then. Stick with the original, do the little square at the top, and then go to do the bottom bit. It doesn't really help a lot, but will it help? This is the question. Hello, Rory. But I only need 5 of them. Waking everybody up now. So let's do this now. Work this one down. Something's not right there. You don't come out the right bobbin. So we shall undo you, pin out, undo you, undo you, pin out, undo you, undo you, pin out, undo you. You should have come out. There should be another bobbin at that point, and it went in there. Okay, so you go down to that bobbin, and which now means you get it. Did, but I did something stupid anyway. Well, within my remit to do something stupid. Really should open new pot pins. That's okay. You can be quiet. I'm not exactly talking the hind leg off a dog, so and I'm still deciding whether this is the right way to do it or not. I mean, as we all know, there are options, and I'm going for building the top bit, doing the next bit down, working on and doing that so that I don't have too many bobbins in play. But if I can get to the bottom, I get to, well, tie them off and chop them off. Although there'll be tails, but I can kind of hide them. And so it would be good. That's okay. I'm happy to have company in silence. Because it does mean that at least when I say things that I know someone's listening, and that I'm not literally talking to myself like an insane person. I know I've got dogs and they can hear me, but sorry dogs, you don't count for that. So it is nice to know that I'm talking to somebody. That's nice. I appreciate that. Also means any screw ups are even more my own fault than normal because I can't even claim I'm distracted. So. To pick up the last few pins out of the pot. It's 2 pins. Isn't it funny, when we were at school, we all had protractors and compasses and all of those kinds of stuff. And we never seemed to actually use them for what they were intended. And yet, as adults, you're kind of going, oh, I wish I had. And you're like, I never said that as a child. I carried one religiously for at least 6 years of my life. And I swear I never needed them once, but I had them. I won a couple of set squares because there was always the obligatory set square. a story that might make you smile, actually. I went to a church. I went to a Church of England school, so I went to a school called Bishop Ramsey, and in RE, which was compulsory, not too surprisingly, we had some lovely boys who, because it was a public school, I can't remember if it was the 4th or 5th year. So I think it was the 5th year. Started throwing metal set squares, a bit like shurikens, down the entire length of the classroom, trying to embed them in the blackboard. And needless to say, they were not overly accurate, nor were the set squares that good at impaling in the blackboard. I mean, they were metal, they did better than the plastic ones, which broke pretty much on impact. So they swapped to throwing scalpels. They were throwing great hefty knives and scalpels down the room. And yes, me and my mate, we used to sit just to the left of the blackboard at the front. And there were times it was closer than I'd like, you know. They never did get in trouble for that, and I never quite worked out how. As I recall, my RE teacher married some semi-famous 1980s actor, which was a little bit weird, because of course she was our RE teacher. It was hard to think of anything else. But she married I can't remember his name. If someone said it, I'd probably be alright. But it was kind of very much a B-rate celebrity, but he was it was a known name. It was not who? It was something people had seen. He'd been in some series and things, but he was not kind of like big name solo, leading actor in films kind of guy. So yeah, it was a bit weird. Well, it was a bit weird to think that anyone famous kind of was around where we were, let alone that they married our RE teacher. Because, of course, like all school kids, teachers live in the school, right? What do you mean they go outside the school? How dare they? Why aren't they chained to desks? Although my form tutor was once spotted in the women's underwear section at Marks and Spencer's, he never lived that down. It doesn't matter if he was there for his girlfriend or his own edification, but we found him, not me personally, but he was found in the women's underwear section, and he was a younger chap at that, so yeah. Sorry, Mr. Waller, but we caught you. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things, is that obviously, like most of us, we lose track of many of the people we went to school with. And there were a couple of kids in our year who, were voted most likely to be in prison by the time they were 18, those kind of guys. And, but I don't think any of my year ended up as actors that I've ever seen on TV. There was one who looked remarkably like someone I've seen on TV, and I've had doubts, but pretty sure they are not the person I'm thinking of. In fact, let me look it up. That's the sensible thing. Let me look it up and see if they were the bloke in Enterprise. Because of course the other problem is now you know, we're all 50 something, so we're not going to look like we did when we were 16 for sure. So enterprise. All cast and crew. Cast. He would be near the top. So, the bloke in question's got the same first name, so that kind of doesn't help. But it says he was born in Leicester. Well, I did not go to school in Leicester, but that does not say he didn't move. Okay. I am not convinced that this dude, Dominic Power, no, he was, at school he was definitely not Dominic Power, but the actor's name is Dominic Keating, and that sounds vaguely like, I remember his name was Dominic, I just don't remember his surname, so, but I definitely would, it was definitely not Power. So he may be the same dude, I mean, but I don't think his name was Power. Unless he was a child actor and I didn't really pay a lot of attention. Let's go look at some of the stuff that he did. Hang on. Go back. See what he's been in. Credits. Let's go back to the start of it all. He was in Vidal Sassoon in 1980. As a... So... Oh, he was born in 61, then it's not him. Because he'd have to have been born in 72 with the rest of us. So... Sorry, I misread that. I read... I missed the first sentence, and so all I read is in Hampstead, London, England with Kathy Burke. And I'm like, his mother was Kathy Burke? No, he was in something. Okay, so it's definitely not him. That's all right. So yeah, I can tell you I farted on Darth Maul, and I sold a computer to Heinz Wolf, who was fairly famously on TV during the 80s and 90s. I also helped sell something to Paul Daniels and Debbie McGee. Yep. I farted on Darth Maul. I can claim that. Absolutely. We got told off for it because we, of course, fell about laughing like small children, as all British people do about farts. And we got told off for it. But I have farted on Darth Maul. Okay, fair enough. I farted on Darth Maul, not intentionally, I should point that out. He was spotting me for a backflip and U-tense, and well, and well, we fell about laughing, and then got told off because all we were doing is rolling around the floor laughing like small children. So, yeah, got told off for that. Never mind. You probably wouldn't remember now, because that was good 20-something years ago. It's got to be, what, 26 years ago now? But we knew he was doing Mortal Kombat, and he'd done Darth Maul and stuff. And he was spotting me for a backflip, and I farted on him. So, as I say, wasn't deliberate. Didn't mean it, mate. Oh, you've got to be shitting me. Please tell me I didn't make a mistake. No, it just looks slightly different. That's all right. Phew. Slightly worried for a moment there. I really don't need that in my life right now. So let's put some of you in here. we can put 2 of you in here and keep you out of the way for a minute. So, let's put you in there and in the pile of doom. Where's my big stick, actually? I have a big prongy pin. Where's my... I saw it earlier today. There it is. Big prongy pin. Big prongy pin. Stab. There you go. Big prongy pin. Help hold them out the way a bit more. Right. I don't need at least 2 of you for a minute. We're now going to go work a bit further down. My co-worker Steve knows more famous people than you can shake a stick at, and I mean it. Kind of every time he goes anywhere, he comes back with another famous person story, right? To the point that my co-worker friend Greg, when he was alive and working with us, almost every Monday morning it was, "And what are we hating you for today?" Because he would meet people that maybe you really wanted to meet. And don't get me wrong, I don't resent him for it. But there are times when you're kind of going... I mean, he does go out of his way to meet them. He has phone numbers and emails for many. And I believe some outstanding, "please come visit me" kinds. Singing for the Pope's a real frigging big deal. I used to be able to sing. Used to be the right word. Now I can only sing loudly and when no one's really listening. Because I'm very out of practice and a bit self-conscious. So that's a big deal. Chauffeur for Morgan Freeman. That would be cool. I like Morgan Freeman. He's cool. My friend Steve has done very similar. So he get for the British people who and those who follow British humour, he did things like he gave Holly a lift to the train station, as in Holly from not Bugs, Red Dwarf. Sorry, I was thinking of Bug, the thing. Anyway, so yes, but he. Nice. Yeah, I've never had any phone numbers or email addresses. It is Red Dwarf. He was Holly at the beginning, not Hilly. He was Holly. He gave him a lift to the train station because he'd been doing something that Steve was at, and Steve said he'd give him a lift, and he agreed to it all. So he's met all of the Red Dwarf people quite a few times. He's met, frankly, everybody. He has contact with Doc Brown. He had the famous Christopher Lloyd. Can't argue with that. He knows people. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. Was it The Rock? Was it Dwayne The Rock Johnson? Someone. Yeah, Great Scott, exactly. I believe it was Dwayne The Rock Johnson. It was certainly someone. Someone said, "Next time you're in America, come stay with us for a couple of days," you know. And you just kind of sit there going, "Oh, fuck off. Just fuck off." You know, it can get a bit much. Fortunately, I do admire my co-worker and, you know, I forgive him these things. But there are occasions, believe me, there are occasions when you just kind of sit there going, "Can you just not? I don't want to hear about it. I don't care how great they were because you met them. You didn't take me with you. Can you just not? Where's my signed copy of..." I mean, you know, for his daughter's birthday, he gets, like, you know, 20 A-list celebrities to send them messages and gifts. I mean, it is that bad, right? So, it can be a little overwhelming on occasions. You know, the stories that he has are epic. But he puts in the effort, right? He put in the effort to be in the right places. He puts in the effort to not be an arse in front of them, and all those kind of things. And so I don't hate him for it. I really don't. You can't hate him for him. He's too nice. But occasionally you do just kind of like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear if you've met somebody else. I don't want to hear how great they were. Can I just like hate on them for a bit or something? You know. Because obviously, not far from here can be the Cheltenham Book Festival, and obviously famous people come along, and he would go along and come back with stories. So that's cool. That's really cool. Janeway was one of the few starship captains that never quite felt right to me, and it was not because she was female. Because clearly I have boobage, I'm female. I have no problem with the concept of woman being in charge of the Star Trek. It was just that somehow it didn't feel right. She and we can all do it. We can all just have a character that just somehow doesn't work for you. I watched all of them. I watched the whole series. I'd watch it again. But somehow I never felt her as commanding as most of the other captains that we've had throughout the Enterprise. Captain Kirk probably would be next in the least commanding, because he did do some really daft and off the book stuff, and arguably very reckless. And so from that point of view, it's hard to believe that they would have let him be captain and get away with it all the time. Now, obviously, it wasn't Janeway's fault that they got catapulted halfway across the universe and all of that kind of stuff. And obviously, she did her best to keep everyone together, and she should be commended for all of that. But there were times when it just didn't feel like... It just didn't feel quite right to me that she was captain. She didn't... everyone followed her. I think part of it was when she would talk to Chakotay about things, it was too much like she was talking to a friend than she was talking to her next in command. And that almost a lot of it was... She would ask his opinion because she didn't want to make the decision herself, and so she'd get him to make the decision for her. And that does not seem future captain kind of worthy. It was kind of weird because obviously I hadn't really seen her in anything before I saw her in Voyager, and while it was coming towards the end of Voyager's series, and I saw her in something else, and I couldn't see her as anything other than Janeway. And I think we all do that to an extent, especially with actors and stuff, is they can become singularly associated with a particular character they play. Even if they play 200-300 others, sometimes Captain Jack Sparrow, you, on hearing of a particular actor, you instantly think of one character, and that you're drawn to that, and your memory, it's almost like that was the best and one thing they did, and you've hung on to it. They probably did other stuff, but you hung on to it. Now, obviously, Johnny Depp has done many things, been in many things, and pretty much done them all pretty spectacularly. But at the same time, he will forevermore be Captain Jack Sparrow. And Disney really stuffed that one up. But I do find myself occasionally stuck, because I'm pretty crap with actors' names. I will be able to recite, 23 other things they've been in, but not their name. So I tend to remember the character or a character. I do remember some names, But other times, it's just not, right? It's just not in my head. And I can't do much about it. I can't, for some reason, they just don't stay in there. Except as a character name. Whereas other actors never even almost, it's not that I can't name things they've been in, but there are other actors where I've never thought of them as just so and so from this, It's always been they are called whoever they are, right? And I think that kind of explains a little bit why I struggle with the changing of the Doctors in Doctor Who. Because sometimes they were such and such, or they will, the first time I see them, they are Doctor Who. And either they work as Doctor Who, it quite quickly, and my brain goes, they are now Doctor Who. Or they don't work quickly in my head, and for the first series that they do, they are the Doctor. I resent them for it, because they took a job that they didn't seem to work well at. And I know that when Christopher Eccleston, it was announced that he was dropping out after the first reboot series of Doctor Who, I was really quite annoyed at that, because he really brought a lot of energy and fire to the role and really did properly bring back Doctor Who. So I resented him a little bit for doing kind of like 6 episodes and sodding off. Okay, it's more than 6, it's 12 or whatever it is, but it feels like 6 because it goes in the blink of an eye. And then to hand over to David Tennant, whose previous role had been some, young lover thing in some period drama. I mean, how's that going to make a good Doctor Who, right? Little did we know. And the first episode, I was a little bit... really not sure about this. Really not. But I did warm up to him fairly quickly. I think it was kind of like episode 2 or 3, and I got over that. Matt Smith took a lot longer. Even though Rory and Amy, it took a lot longer because he was really young. And not that that's a problem, but he was just a hair too wacky for me. He was just a little bit kind of on the edge of, really, that's a thing. It was, we expect Doctor Who to be eccentric. He's currently he's kind of 2,000 odd years old, and certainly during Peter Capaldi's time, they constantly mutter that he was 2,000 plus years old. So we know he is not a young individual. To live that many lives, to have gone through regeneration, seen all the things, you are going to be... Amy! Stop licking it! A little bit unusual. Well, you're an alien for stars. So it's not that that's a problem. But there's eccentric, and then there's kind of... That's just a little weird, dude. And so I've always struggled with the changing of a Doctor, because it's always just as you're really getting used to it that, they seem to leave. Didn't get on with her at all. But that was, I think, the stories that she got. Exactly. He had that, he really did feel a good tie back to the ones that had gone before. He was, it's not that he constantly went on about jelly babies or anything of the sort, but it felt like a natural progression. Whereas David Tennant didn't feel quite so natural. I mean, I hadn't really seen a lot of Christopher Eccleston until he did Doctor Who. But the moment kind of the first word on the screen was run, and suddenly you're captivated because he's got a big grin and I won't say a silly face, but he's got a really expressive face. Come on, Rory, if you're coming up, get on with it while I'm still in the mood. Come on. bit of effort, thank you. But he had a very expressive face, but he had an element of silliness, but without being childish or stupid. He had intelligence, but without being too snobby and know-it-all. He had a good mix of all of the things that the Doctor had been before. And so it really felt like, yeah, it makes perfect sense that he's the next guy. And almost to the point of, I can't think anyone who would have done that first series better. I did love David Tennant. He also has a fairly expressive face. He's also intelligent. And he continued it on pretty well. Hence, I adopted to him reasonably quickly. But I still had a bit of resentment because Chris Eccleston had left. And I was still hanging on to, I wanted more of that. And I think if he could have done 2 or 3 series and then moved on, my brain, and I think a lot of other brains, would have been quite happy because he did a reasonable amount of time. Now, I do appreciate that if it, he was not suffering, but he was not in a good working relationship while doing it. We all know that being in the wrong job really does suck. And it doesn't matter how well you do your job. If all around you is suck, it is hard to want to do that. And I don't... So, if, because he was suffering, I don't really hold it against him that he was wanting out. I do hold it against him because I wanted to do at least 2 more series. But, I can understand. I'm not that evil. David Tennant did a really good chunk, and it was not wrong that he left, and he left with such emotion, and so it was good that he came back for a bit. So having, him kind of, I don't want to go, him in tears because he didn't want to go. It felt genuine. It felt thoroughly genuine that he changed his mind and didn't want to leave. And I think that's a lot of it, is everyone's got their kind of... You expect someone who is not human to be different to us, so you expect differences. And as you say, Patrick Troughton was wacky, but he was the right side of wacky. Matt Smith was just that little bit too wacky, and it would have been nicer, I think, if that had been toned down just a little bit. I mean, wackiness is fine, but only kind of like, within an element of reason. And so, and I think, Matt Smith slightly overstepped that, certainly on occasions. Peter Capaldi was a very different Doctor to those who went before. He was kind of serious, but at the same time not. And his level of wacky was distinctly different. And it was not right, it was not wrong. I've been rewatching them, as I inevitably do, quite a lot. And there are times when he's quite almost innocent in that there are things that he hasn't thought of or hasn't seen and understood, and you'd think if you were 2,000 years old, you'd have a bit more nous about what's going on around you than that, surely, right? Yes, and some of that I think is not an age thing, but they portray it by having an older looking Doctor, and therefore don't expect them to be quite so young. I haven't hated any of them. That's not quite true. There was one Doctor back in the 70s who I really didn't get on with. It wasn't the All Creatures Great and Small guy. It was the shorter guy. Hang on. As I said, I'm shite with actor names. Hang on. Let me get... That's the one. He was odd. I'm not going to say he was wrong, but he was odd. Yeah, I had no problem with any of them. Jodie Whittaker didn't quite fit for some reason, but I think that was the story. I think it was more the story than anything else. Nor am I, because first of all, interspecies love. Secondly, he's 2,000 frigging years old. It's like going out with a fetus, surely. And I mean, I can understand that they care for their companions. Because, well, you're living in the same house, you are going to have a distinct level of familiarity, and potentially a good level of care will come with that. But having the actual romantic kind of level... as you say, Tenchi, I think the romantic side of between a companion and the Doctor was something that kind of was a bit weird. Now, is it strange for the companion to feel feelings for the Doctor? Probably not, because they are a very mature, very experienced individual who goes around saving things all the time, and, you know, bit of a hero complex thing, and so it could be rather attractive, I guess. But while it started with Chris Eccleston, with Rose clearly having a bit of a thing for him, but he was completely unaware, that's more of the level that I would have expected out of Doctor Who. Just because, you know, it's, you know, wrong kind, probably laws against it, as I think Chris Eccleston says. There's probably a law against it. So the whole David Tennant thing, building on that was, I mean, it made a good story, and obviously they never actually did until he becomes human, and therefore in another universe, and they get together there. So from that point of view, it was infatuation, maybe a bit on both sides, but it was handled, for want of a better word. When we get to Matt Smith and Amy, well, to make it kind of a more permanent theme, definitely was a little bit weird, because obviously when Amy has her baby, there was inference that it could have been the Doctor's. And the Doctor was almost the I don't know. It could be. Well, what do you mean it could be? Surely you know if you got down and dirty, dude. You know, surely this is not something you would forget. Well, especially with another species, you know. Because, of course, we have no proof that they're anatomically compatible. So that seemed a really odd thing to do. And of course, the fact that River kind of becomes his wife, but doesn't, but does, and that's their baby, but it's, you know what, it's all slightly confusing. But the fact then that the moment Matt Smith dropped out, or that Amy and Rory went, we didn't really see River again. And you're kind of going, well, surely the Doctor would go and tell River what happened to her parents, because she wouldn't know. I mean, I know she was there in, that she was in the graveyard and stuff, but you'd expect for the Doctor to continue caring for River a little bit on their behalf, but bye, see you later kind of thing. And she, the last we saw, at the end of that episode, they were kind of polishing up the TARDIS a bit, and then we didn't really see her again. And it's a bit like Captain Jack, suddenly he just phases out for a really long time, comes back for one episode, and disappears again. It made the whole romance thing with Amy a little bit. I mean, we've agreed to an extent that Matt Smith was slightly more eccentric than felt reasonable. Only a bit. It's not hugely, but then with the whole Amy thing on top of that was just a little bit more. And I don't know, it did spoil it. Now, obviously, when we got Jodie Whittaker, all of that went in the bin, because, well, she's female and she clearly isn't, she doesn't seem to be too impressed by, she all of the things that had gone before just seemed to go out the window. And so it did seem a little odd that it didn't continue, and that she got a whole new group of people who were weird. And, it seemed to be we need to have some inclusion, so we'll have one of everything, thank you very much. And that felt too shoehorned into it, certainly in Treb's viewpoint. I wasn't so worried, but I didn't pay a lot of attention to some of it. And it was only when he pointed out, but this guy's got this, and this one's this, and this one's that. And it's like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of it like that. So, I don't know. I think it is a hard thing to continue on such an epically, gargantuan series as Doctor Who. Is not an easy task. And I'm not going to pretend that I know how to do it better or anything of the sort, because I know I don't. I haven't warmed to Ncuti Gatwa yet, because he's really quite wacky, and I feel, again, maybe too wacky, but of course he is the result of a dual split, so that can then lead to two minds and, a bit of insanity, and so it's not wrong, but I haven't settled yet. And I need more input to make decision, I think. But at the moment, yeah, not quite feeling this one yet, still. Would like more input. And of course, I think one of the other problems we have with Doctor Who is that we are all so used to now watching American TV series where every series is 20 to 26 episodes a series, not 10 to 12. So it's over in a flash. And I think that really doesn't help us, because we are so used to now being able to binge watch for like a week, a couple of series or something, whereas you can watch the entirety of Doctor Who kind of in a week off. It doesn't sit as well, because you're so used to everything being over a much longer period of time. And it must give you trouble for the writers, because they don't have so many series episodes to spread out some of the more subplot aspects on it. And obviously it means that if an actor's going to hang around for 3 or 4 years, well, you're only going to get 30-something episodes out of them. And that's assuming you do some every year, because of course some of them aren't every year. So I think from a writer's perspective, they do have their jobs cut out for them, and it's not an easy thing. I think that some of David Tennant's stories were some of the better stories, along with Chris Eccleston's. I think those two sets had much better stories than some of the later guys. But then, for example, with Peter Capaldi, you had the Lizard, you had Strax, I can't remember what the Lizard's name is, Madame Satra or something, anyway, and her handmaiden, who of course was a secret ninja, and they appear at the beginning of the series when kind of Clara comes along. They hang around for pretty much all the way through, and the moment Clara goes, you don't speak to them again, But Doctor surely would remember, even if he regenerates, even if he moves on, surely he remembers these people. Surely they are not lost to him. And he wouldn't just cast them aside when they've been so loyal to him in his time of need. And I think that's one of the things that kind of puzzles me the most in some of the newer Doctor Who stuff is, obviously, in the past, they would do a bit of a regeneration, and sure, that was the end of the old, in with the new. There was kind of no looking back. But at the same time, because there was no looking back, you'd have a few kind of flashbacks and some other bits, and it seemed to fit better, whereas now, I think it feels almost like it's a bit like the new school year. In come a new bunch of students, the teachers don't need to remember the old ones, and it's kind of like, hi miss, how are you? I'm sorry, you are? But miss, I was your prize student for a whole year. Were you? Oh, okay, that's nice of you. And it has that kind of feel to it, and I don't know, I think they have brought back, with Ncuti Gatwa, they have brought back some of the older writers, which hopefully will help. I think that can be a good thing, because some of the early stories felt more Doctor Who-y. So, for example, one of the other problems I've had is when they rebooted Star Trek, and obviously changed the story. Now, it's fine that they changed the story. The reason they changed the story is quite clear. It's a parallel universe, in effect. So the fact that the story is different is not, per se, a problem. But, at the same time, they initially tried to continue the story on like it was happening in the same order of events, but with some of the characters affected by the changes of the parallel universe. But it's not Into Darkness. Beyond, I think it was Star Trek Beyond, the last one they did. That was just weird. I mean, they land, they crash into a planet. Yeah, it is Beyond. They crash into a planet. Realistically, if that had just been a sci-fi movie, that would have been a fairly good movie. But pretending it was Starship Enterprise, and, with Kirk and Spock and all the rest of it, didn't really work. It didn't have that Star Trek feel to it. And I'm a bit of a Trekkie. I like a good bit of Star Trek. But it didn't have the feeling of Star Trek to it. I mean, it was set in space, there was Spock and Kirk, but it didn't feel like Star Trek. It's hard to explain entirely what was missing, but it just didn't entirely feel like it was a Star Trek movie. It's like when you've read a book and they make a film from the book and you watch the film and kind of go, how was that related to the book? And it was very much inspired by Star Trek, not actual Star Trek. And obviously with the loss of Chekhov, they haven't made any more. I'm actually quite grateful. Because it was a bit silly. And obviously Leonard Nimoy can't be in it anymore, so that would have been disappointing. So I think from that point of view, it worked well that it stopped when it did. But this... Well, you see, this is one of the other problems. We now have TV episodes that generally last for an hour of viewing time. Usually because of the ads, but for an hour. Well, some of the films weren't a lot longer. So what's the point? I mean, you get like the double episode ones in some of the new ones. You get like double episode ones. Well, you can show it back to back and it's all good, right? So, as you say, it doesn't feel like there's a need for a movie. I mean, I was really pleased when the Next Gen lot did a few. And although some of those movies kind of didn't really feel like they entirely fitted in the plot of the series, First Contact was spectacular. I really loved that. But, I think one of my biggest problems with current life and film creators, no offence to the film creators out there, but there are thousands of books, millions of books. How many damn fucking Spider-Man movies do we need? How many remakes of Batman do we need? Although Christian Bale made a really good frigging Batman, and especially with Morgan Freeman, but how many more sodding remakes of Batman can we need? I remember back in the 80s, they were just doing kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger and co as Batman. And it felt like almost a month later, The Dark Knight Rises. Can we not? We've literally just rebooted the whole Batman story. And you're doing it again? It's a bit like reading a book that you've literally just finished the last page and opening the first page again. Read something else. Find something else. There are some really good stories out there. And some of them would make cracking good films. Now, I've read a series called Schooled in Magic. Now, Schooled in Magic makes references to Star Trek and Harry Potter. But basically, a girl, round about 15, 16, walking home from, not overly happy with her life, walking home, gets pulled into another kind of parallel university place, where it turns out there's magic. And it turns out she's actually got magic. And she's captured by this bad guy, and some other guy comes to save her, and, she then gets sent to school, where she has to learn how to do magic, and she uses some of the ideas that she's seen in our world, in their world, because, well, they've not had them, because they've got magic, and things like the steam train, the printing press, she brings all of those with her, and, standard number keeping rather than the, hieroglyphic bookkeeping that their bookkeeping guild had. And, it does get a bit silly, because at one point she effectively sets off a nuclear bomb by splitting the atom with her mind, and you're kind of going, of course you did, love. And she, even in the book, they do say, well, if other people work out, oh, I've done, that'll be the end of this place. And she does it again, and people do kind of go, how did you do that? But I thought they'd finished, because I said to they're on like book 29, right? And while we were following her schooling, it made some sense. Following a bit after her schooling made a bit of sense. But we're now on book 29, and it feels a little dragged out. And, I mentioned that, I hope he quits before it really kind of goes a bit sour. And it was like, oh, yeah, he said he's got the end. And we got to a point where I honestly thought he'd called an end to it, because it kind of tied it up in a knot, all the things that had happened at the beginning, so how she got pulled over from one universe to the other, something happens involving that original universe, and, some shit, and I really thought that was the end. There's now 2 more books since then, and I actually haven't read them yet, and he hasn't stopped, and it's kind of like, but you were done. That story felt complete at that point. How is there more? Now, and he's also done a bit of a spin-off, because this is the other thing that's kind of weird. Back in the day, books took years to write. Now it's a few months. And it's almost like they've got verbal diarrhea of whatever, and they spit out these books really quickly. And they're not necessarily less quality for it, don't get me wrong. But with the advent of computing and being able to edit things and not having to retype 3/4 of it, I guess it does mean that they're a lot more able to produce these things quicker. They can email copies to people rather than having to send over a forklift truck with the typings and, all of this kind of stuff. So it is predominantly quicker. They've got, spell checkers, so they don't have some poor schmo checking for spelling, although it obviously, if it's a real word, well, it's still a real word, and it lets that go. But books seem to be flying out of authors so quickly these days. Look at James Patterson. I mean, pretty much every other month there's a new book from James Patterson on the shelf, right? Some authors just seem to be, pissing books, frankly. And as I say, it's not that the book's bad. It just seems, whereas before it was a treat when the new book came out, now it's kind of constant. And I don't know. I think we have, when there are that many books and films and ideas and all of that going around, why is it we can't make new films? We've got to, quote, reimagine a film that was perfectly good the first time round. Take, for example, 3, 4, 5, Aliens and the much later reboot of Prometheus and whatever the fuck the second one's called. Anyway, Prometheus and the other one, I watched it recently and I can't think what it's called. If they were done as sci-fi scary movies, they would have succeeded in that. But they didn't. They were, quote, prequels to Alien. Well, the problem with prequels is that you kind of got to relate to it. And the problem was, we didn't. Because in Prometheus, the alien, as we vaguely recognise and know it, 3 seconds at the end? It's almost after the credits. I would love to see some of the books that I've read made into films, because some of them have been quite good. I can't think of his name. Andy McDermott, I think it is. He's done like Search for Atlantis and a whole bunch of things. And it's a bloke called Eddie, and I think her name's Nina or something. Anyway, she's kind of a bit of an Indiana Jones, and he's a bodyguard. And he's kind of got a bit of an attitude and a bit of swearing behind him. And sadly, it degenerates into a kind of love fest between the two of them. Like you said, Tenchi, really? We didn't need that, you know. But I really enjoyed the rest of the story. The actual search and the adventure side of it. And, you know, The Librarian was a really good set of adventure movies, but they only made 3 of them. The series were less good. But the films with Noah Wilde in were great. And, you know, it would have been nice maybe for a, you know, bit of a follow-on. So I don't know. I struggle sometimes because obviously, you know, there are a lot of good books out there. Deserve. You really should see the movies. The movies are really good. The movies are good. I quite like those. They are 3 very individual, unrelated stories, to be fair to them. And the leading lady changes in each one. But they are very good stories. The series started off pretty reasonable, but it did degenerate a little bit. It was, again, you know, because she's got a brain grape, she, towards the end, that starts getting really quite silly. And it makes fun of something that's really not funny. Now, I know that, you know, making fun of something that's not funny is kind of normal. We often do. In the light of bad shit, we tend to make fun of it. But it was a bit freaky for me. So, I don't know. I watched all of the series. And again, the fact that towards the end, I don't know how far you got. But towards the end, there's almost like a love interest between Noah Wilde and the girl who's doing most of it in the series. We don't need that. It's not essential, you know? We could do without some of that. Oh, I did some of that wrong somehow. Hang on, I did some of that wrong. I'm aware I crossed things incorrectly. Or at least it felt incorrect. But with all so many good books out there, I mean, The Librarian was good. We did 3 films. and then we got a couple of series out of it, and they called it quits. Kind of worked. Too many times they don't call it quits when they're ahead, which spoils everything. And like Prometheus, because Aliens and Aliens and all the rest of it was so popular, of course people were going to come and see it because, well, they hoped it would be as good. Well, it wasn't. And, you know, hence they couldn't call it Aliens. And I'm trying to remember what the one after Prometheus was called. Hang on. And it also didn't make a lot of sense because the guy who funds the thing in Prometheus is Peter Whalen, but he appears in the second one as a younger bloke, but it was after the... How the fuck did that work? So let me find Michael Fassbender. Known for... Let's see, more than that. Prometheus, so what was it called? Alien Covenant. Let's not make references to Alien in it, because the second one was even worse. I'm not quite sure how they achieved that, but it was actually worse. Because, I mean, in the first one, we all knew that they were going to find some aliens and people were going to die. It's a horror film. What the hell do you think was going to happen? But you didn't really know what. In the second one, the moment you met one character, you knew exactly what was coming for the rest of the film, and none of it was a surprise. And it was kind of like, that's a bit shit. So we were quite happy without that. That was quite a thing. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just wish they'd make. I wish they'd make films out of new material. Just stop rehashing the old ones. Because of course, we remade Karate Kid. We've remade, frankly, everything, and not always for the better. So. I can't pick up these stupidly thin pins. And now I've dropped it. I don't know where it went. I'm sure I'll find it the hard way. Because it's somewhere in my clothes, I think. It's not a good thing. There it is. I saw it. It's my jumper. So yeah, there's so many books. Why can't we do more with the other books? Why do we keep doing the same one? And the answer is because it's like Star Wars. Stop making Star Wars a story and come up with some new shit, please. You know. Dear, grumble. Right, this is where shit gets real, I think, and I need to find my other crochet hook. I don't believe fat crochet hook is a wise move. I think I need my extra thin one. It's right on the floor. It's covered in dog hair. have two options. Lace making has the choice of tool for joining the way that we wish to, which both involves inserting something metal and pulling up loops. Now, let's use some of this thread because it's here. Let's prep both, because I can switch between the two and decide. It's not like you can tell after the fact, for example. So, this one has a pin on it, or a needle on it rather. And what you do is you thread the needle with some thread, which is infinitely small. I do have some needle threaders somewhere. Yeah, I need one of those, I think. Where's a thin pin? Maybe I can poke through the hole with a thin pin. Because this pin is... This is really... Let's take the needle out of there. See if I can thread it with it in my hand, and I can... Time to take the glasses off. One day I'm going to take my glasses off with pins in my hand and stab myself in the eyeball with them, because I come dangerously close to doing that. Yeah, you are not enjoying the idea of going through the hole. Can we persuade you with the pin that this is where you need to be? It's not a very big hole, it has to be said. This may be the deciding factor, because if I ever get this shit through here, it'll be a freaking miracle. I can always go and see if I've got thinner thread somewhere. Actually, that might be an idea, because that is well too fat for that. Glasses back on for squinting. Rory, will you stop being annoying, my dear friend? Try a bit of this one, because this is proper skinny stuff. As you'll soon see, it's proper skinny stuff. Tiny skinny stuff. Put that back on there. Oh, can you stop headbutting everything? You're a pain in the butt, dog. Getting off now. Good, right. Glasses off. Hole of needle. Threading armpits on it. Yeah, I can see you've made like 0.1 of a millimetre of you through the eye of the needle. You bastard. It's like this needle was twisted as well. That's a bit more of you. Ta-da! Right. So, how this works is, this needle, which is broken and bent for all intents and purposes, is in here. It's got a bent end which is not doing the thing of this any good. Where are my pliers? Trim off the end of that. Now it's got a flat end. That'll go in the thing so much better. Because it was bending the thing and well, that doesn't help, so that goes in there like that. It needs to go down a bit more than that, so like that. Now what happens is you poke this through the hole, it makes a loop, and you put the bobbin, one bobbin through that, then you put the other bobbin through the first thing, but because this hasn't got anything on the end of it, this pulls straight out. Or you try and hook it with the world's smallest, and I shit you not, crochet hook. Have fun, Tenchi. You're going to miss the best bit. Me trying to work out, me trying to swear and curse these things into the holes. But there you go. I shall see you soon. Because I can't really get close enough because it's in the middle. I'm going to try the pin first, I think. So we're going to need to make you longer. And we need to take off my glasses, pick up the pin. More pokings. We can actually use this while we're here. So this now can pick up these two threads here. Let's make both complete. Does not that this crochet hook is bent. It's brand new, never used. It's supposed to be bent. But it's really hard when you can't really see it. So we now have this. We pass this through this and pull this out like this. It then pulls a magic loop. No, don't come undone. Oh, no, don't do that. I'm not going to try and thread you again in a hurry. Now I need a stronger pokey stick. Where's my other pokey stick? What happened to my big pokey stick? There it is. I see it glistening in the distance. There it is. You now come out. And I need to poke through you somewhere to give you a pull. You through the hole, like that. You need to come down, not twisted, because we need this, and there we have. Locked in. Looks a bit baggy, but oh, that's other threads, that's alright. And then we do a knot. I said we do a knot, not we tangle ourselves around the bobbin. Please, thank you. Thank you. This one. And we have done those two bobbins. Now let's do 50 million more. nice if you could do it with the pin still in it, to be honest. Put my jumper on because I was getting cold, and now I'm beginning to roast because my brain cells are thinking, I get so annoyed with this. Brain cells. I need that to move about this far this way so that I can actually see them and my boobage is not in the way. Would be nice. Let's put you up here. Lift you up. What do we do with the thing still in the hole? This is the question. It's a bent pen. Of course it's a bent pen. You're frigging bent. Trying to find the hole, put the pin back, which is a glorious, wonderful thing to have to do. So, number one, stop twisting round the head of the bobbin. Okay, stuck, thank you. Or pins, leave the pins alone. Two. Awkward to get this in. Pin, go away. Definitely don't need pins. Need to perform surgery on this. Scalpel blade. There we go. This should do it. Do not judge by the fact that I have ready to hand scalpel blades. They're good for all manner of things. Right. I need there to be a little bit of a gap at the top, but not a lot. I suppose the answer is what I should do is buy a new one. I got this one second hand, so it was already a little bit funky when I got it. But that should be enough. Right. Put this back on a little bit. This then seems to get stuck, which is a little bit off. That's stronger, that's better. That's fixed that. It is the metal worker. This now needs to go down through this housing, up. Strong stick, give it a tug, take one of the bobbins, passes it through, takes the end of stupid phone string, twist it, and then put other bobbin through the heavy. We really do need to lengthen these, Gimba. Right. There we go. And then you pull back down like that. And then now lengthen them because we're going to tie a knot and they need to be able to pass around. So knot, and other knot, and you go over there. You can see a little bit as to why this would not be an effective join as you go scenario, because the move I'm doing bar the 2 knots at the end of it is basically the same move. So this would take a considerable amount of time to do on the fly. And when doing at the end, you can kind of line them up and play spot the hole, and you poke a needle through it, and you've poked a needle through it, so you're done, right? So I'm sorry, but I've got a horrible feeling that that is going to be why my plan of doing it at the end is going to save my sanity, because we've got 18 squares to make, and the best part of 40 something pairs of bobbins to tie off. So being reasonable about it needs to be part of the plan. We can't just kind of, you know, go for it. We do need to have a little bit of sense about it. And while I am not an expert, trying to do this every row for kind of like the best part of 48, I think it is, or is it 50? No, it would be sides, so it's more than that. It's the long side, not the, you know. Anyway, it's a lot, and I don't think that sanity will accept that as an answer. So this and doing it as we go has to be a distinct part of the plan. Because, well, I would say this is easier because this is not easier, but we're going to have to do this anyway. So going blind is not overly on the scale of things to do, but we are, after all, trying to do this as well as we can. And so while, yes, it definitely would look better for it, I'm sure you don't want me to end up in the funny farm for it, so, you know, it's only a curtain after all. As I keep saying, it's not like I'm making it for the Queen, so, you know, it doesn't have to be kind of Queenie standard, it just has to be good enough. And obviously enough is variable, and while I would like for perfection, I still have to be able to function as a human being, because what is the point of making it if after the fact I'm having to live somewhere else in the funny farm because, well, now I have to live somewhere else in the funny farm because I lost my marbles. So let's not pretend that sanity is not a reasonable consideration in all of this. I'll just let go at the end, and that was not a good plan. You're going to try and tangle in all of the pins now, because that's what you threads do well, isn't it? Hurrah! We have completed 5 whole bobbins. Time to poke down some pins, because this is also a pin pusher. Poke down those pins. And these pins, please. They're the last ones on that side. Oh. So it may not look like much. And if we turn our thing round, it is listed to the side again. Seriously, how do you do that so well? But this incredibly thin thing can go back in there because it is incredibly thin and bendy and already bent. I don't know quite why. This is the magic device of the day. So all it does is you put a loop through it, you put it through a hole and bring it back, it makes a loop, you pass the bobbin through there, you then pull both bits back, it makes a loop this side, you pass it. It's a little bit kind of chaotic, I'm aware of that, but it is kind of practical, and it is a very good tool for it. I have a couple of those, and obviously big, strong, pointy device. It's 9:15, but we have discarded these bobbins. These bobbins are of no use to us whatsoever. We can trim those and call it quits. That knot's kind of in the wrong place, and it's not the best join in the world. I'm not going to pretend that it is the elitist join in the universe, but What I may do to assist it in its journey is the world's smallest drop of super glue to help it not come undone, because I know I'm not supposed to, but it would really piss me off. And for some reason, knots and I have bad standing, so even though I follow the knot of ages and, oh, this knot will never slip. Yeah, mine do. And as we proved with the tailor's, with the weaving knot in the beginning when we were trying to join a couple of yarns to do things, and it said, you know, hold the yarns like this, wrap this round here, fold that tail under, pull on the ends, and, well, it just slides straight off the end, and it's supposed to be like the strongest knot in the history of knots, and you're like, this one ain't. So, but we have completed those. We can consider those done, and in fact, to prove a point, we will. Clear nail lacquer is definitely an option, but I do not possess some, whereas I do possess super glue. Oh, for Christ's sake, ads, seriously? How do these ads know when I'm done and I'm kind of in the middle of something? How does it know? Let's do a bit more pin pushing, I think. So, we need to push these down because what we do, it looks so much smarter when you do. I don't like super glue either, but at the same time, the fear of it coming undone. I mean, I have this stuff. So, for example, I do have PVA, and this drives absolutely clear, but it washes out. So as long as I never wash my net curtain, this would be great. Hence the thought of super glue. And it would be the tiniest spot of super glue too. Seems more than every hour. So yes, Nautica, the idea of super glue is not an approved or sanctioned thing, but what I don't need is, for example, I have this stuff, which is PVA. Now this does absolutely dry clear. And works really, really well when doing things like sewing, because I use it on my tea towels, in fact. So what I do is I zoom on my loom, I make a tea towel, and then when I get to the end of a tea towel, I put in 2 shots of a different colour, and what I do is I run the glue over the 2 shots. Doesn't have to be entirely accurate, but you cut between the two shots. So the glue holds them in. You then fold it over, sew it all down, throw them all in the wash, and because you've already hemmed it and the inside is on the inside and snugly rolled up inside, it never frays, it never comes undone, and the PVA washes away like none of it was there, and frankly saves you a lot of grief. Some people use kind of like fusing tape where you press it on with an iron, you then cut it, and then when you wash it again it washes out. You can get that for machine embroidery. But I did try a couple of those, and I got one that was heralded as, oh, you know, when it washes out you'll never see it. Well, it was kind of a plastic mesh, so when you washed it out you had all these plastic strings that kind of stuck out of everywhere, and it was frankly a disaster. So that was not a thing. And it was designed not to, actually, one of them was designed not to wash out, but did wash out, but left some of the plastic strings. One that was designed to wash out left loads of plastic strings, and so I didn't get on with that at all. So hence ever since I've used a big tub of PVA glue. Now somewhere else in this house there's another tub, but I couldn't find it, so I bought a new one. Because it's like £8 or something for a big tub. So, but if I don't ever intend to wash my net curtain, I would use the PVA glue, because I know that dries 100% perfect, doesn't go yellow with age, all of those kind of things. I bought a fray check, which is a similar kind of deal, designed for fabrics and all that kind of stuff. Oh, it was great. Oh, it was great. Except it came out nicotine yellow. In the box, in the pot, it was white. But the moment it came out the hole at the end, it was nicotine yellow, stroke brown. And of course, it stained everything. Oh, that was a bit shit. So I don't really want to stain everything, so hence I got new PVA glue, because clearly the fray check shit was shit. But I am quite self-conscious that I really, really would be devastated beyond belief if after sewing it all together, some of the ends gave way. But you need to cut them really quite short. So you end up with, like on the original square. Where is the original square? Hang on. Let me go get the original square. Hang on. You're in the way, Dad. So, in original square, made in slightly thicker thread, but not a lot, on the back, this was the fray check shit, so I'll find it in a minute. There it is. On the back, let me zoom in, hang on. Bonk. No, wrong picture, wrong button, that button. If you look, you might be able to see it. It's yellow where the fray check went. And the other problem is, if I roll it on itself, that works, but as you can see from this, it's hard to trim the ends to not have like bunny ears, hence it looks a little bit more ragged, whereas if I fold it on a different diagonal, you'll see that the edge is nice and flat. Because of the knots and the bunny ears off the knots, no matter how carefully you trim them, it shows out. Now obviously, if I turn it over, while you can see that there is a line, it's a bit off screen really, but you can see that there's a line, from the right side it doesn't really show. And obviously from a net curtain point of view, and it's just caught itself on a pin, there it is, I am kind of in the viewpoint of, obviously I want to, this will be the side that I see, the good side will be my side, because we're upstairs and no one, you know, no one bar a window cleaner is going to see the outside, so to the window cleaner, right? So I will see this side, I will see the good side, so I can afford to, how do we put it, cheat a little on the inside. Now I did consider doing like a crochet chain of the things, but to be honest, I don't think that would work that well, because obviously you'd need to start, say, in the middle and work out, and you'd have to make a loop with one and then try and loop through each of them, but because it's not the same thread, it wouldn't really make a tighten-upable kind of moment. Now, there are people who have done fancy things with knots where you knot, say, all the left-hand sides to make kind of a line one side and then all the right-hand sides to make the right-hand side and join them kind of top and bottom. But again, that sounds a bit knot heavy to me. These knots are, I mean, obviously now you know that they're there and you could see, you know that the yellow line is where the dots is. But even on the wrong side, if they weren't yellow, it wouldn't stand out as much as it does. It really does stand out more because the yellowing has kind of, not only are there knots, there is yellowing knots, and it's just a little bit much when you see it. But I am very conscious of those ends. You can't not have the little bunny ear ends. And again, I mean, if you imagine trying to join square on square with each one of those for each stitch that I do down the side, I have to go through what I did there, but instead of chopping the bobbins off, you continue. It is a lot of work. Hence, I think it is the correct thing to do, but in terms of my sanity, it's one thing too far. So, I'm glad we've got rid of 5 pairs of bobbins. That's always a thing. They're now in my little box. I think it was 5. It was 5, wasn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we've got rid of 5 pairs of bobbins. That's 10 less bobbins on my pillow. And if we work kind of a bit this way, we can get rid of some. And then there's less on the pillow to make the rest of it easier. It is not always the right answer. It's not always the wrong answer. But I am pleased with what we've done. It is a little chaotic on the pillow at this time, but we have finished 5 bobbins. I'm going to take a picture of that because, well, I'm going to take a picture of that. Like that. That's not the best picture, actually. That's a pretty shit picture. Thank you, Liz. That was a pretty terrible picture. Let's try. That's a much better picture. I have standards with my photography, even if I don't always follow them. So I think that's good enough for today. It will take 2 odd hours probably to, well, 1 hour and a half at least to post the video. So I'm getting a bit hungry because I didn't really have tea. And my brain cells are beginning to flag a little. I went through my yawning patch earlier, as we know. So I'm going to turn my pillow around because then that way the bobbins are at the back and they're out the way. A bit further from the dog. I'm going to cover them up with my heavy cloths. Oh, okay. Well, if you hear distant sobbing, I fully understand and I commiserate. If it is a joyful success, feel free to send me a copy. Well, you can send me a copy either way, actually. You can send me a copy with tears and I will understand. You can send me a copy with a grin. I will understand. I mean, obviously, what works and doesn't work so well may not be as apparent to me, but at the same time, if you tell me it's a failure, I'll very much believe you because you've said. I'm glad that I got that done today, though. I'm glad I got some bobbins tied off. I feel it makes the end of the square feel closer. I mean, there's still quite a bit of triangle to go, but it makes the end of the bobbin feel a little closer. Hello, dog nose. Yes, you were on camera momentarily. Look, there you are. Yes, dog nose. Now that's my nose. And once again, you've got a face like a builder's arse. What have you been doing? Yes, miss. Yes, I know. Thank you. Stupid mum. It's not your best view, though. I have not got the best view of the dog. No. Best view of the dog is the other end of the dog. I have the farty end of the dog. Yes. And don't pretend to me that you haven't been, because I sit here. And Rory, will you stop licking, or I really will want to tape your mouth up. I will not ever tape his mouth up, but right now I really want to. Whatever you're licking, will you quit it? Because it's usually the couch, me, my clothes, usually her. Go on. You need to stop licking everything. Oh, it's my trousers. There's a wet spot on my trousers now. Or the duvet, my bed. Licked bed is a joy that no man should suffer. Licked bed. Ew. Licked bed is very ew. I will have you know, dog. So, I hope your drawing went well, and I'm glad that you chose to spend your time with me. I very much appreciate that, and I have appreciated your company through my trials and tribulations. So yes, I shall be here tomorrow. I tried to get on fairly soon after work because, well, if I don't, and then I go and do this, and I go and do that, and then can I be bothered? And I do want to get somewhere with my square, so clearly, you know, getting on with it is desperately a thing. So yes, I shall see you tomorrow if you're available. If you're not, I shall miss you. And until next time, my friends. Bye!